Hello everyone, it's Natasha from Treasure Books. So what do you do with old large book covers? We're talking things like this, from books that you cut up and use the images to your kids and grandkids, old books that are no good to be donated. You have these beautiful large panels. What can you make? Well, that's what this video is all about, of course, and I promise you, you will get an abundance of ideas. So let's get right into it. All right, this is my first project for today. I'm hoping to do a couple, so we'll just get started with this one. So let's say you have a large book that has a tiny little spine like this one here. Not much we can do with that. And now thinking about the cover, what are we going to do with the cover? There's really three options or more, I'm not sure. But I'm going to mention the three that I know of off the top of my head now. You can cover it with something, fabric, scrapbook paper, contact paper, whatever you have on hand. You can paint over it, or you can leave it as is. This one here, I'm not going to leave it as is because I don't really like it. I'm not going to paint over it because it's very glossy. I would have to, sand it down and all that business. I'm just not going to bother with that. So I'm going to cover this one. Now, looking at something like this is also glossy. I wouldn't be painting over this either, but I actually don't mind how this looks. So I would probably leave this as it is and just cover the spine with something, cover this writing here. So I'll probably work on that one today as well. Then we have something like this. I'm not sure what I would do with this, probably leave it as is. And then we have this type of thing. These are already done. Now this one is a beautiful cover on its own. It looks almost like a canvas, and I just left it as it is. These are the books that come with the sleeve over the top. And this one here was a canvas, like a material type of thing. If I put it close, I don't know if you can see. It was fabric-y kind of, and I just painted over it. So that kind of thing, I will take my paintbrush and all of my little tools and just do something like this. Just to show you here on the inside, that's how the book looked. And this one here, this is also kind of canvasy, or it was, and then I also painted over it. So I feel like something that's non-glossy will take paint really well. And we'll come back to the painted ones a little bit later, but for now I want to start working on this book. So I've already decided that I want to cover this with something, and I also decided that I want to remove the spine. So it's up to you. Does your book have a wide spine? You want to keep the spine? We can work with something like that too. In fact, I'm going to do this book next, and I'm going to be keeping the spine. So we'll come back to that spine business. But for now, for this one, I'm going to completely remove the spine. Now that I'm in here, I like to tidy these edges up, and I want to kind of cut this paper off all the way down to that board so I have a nice and straight edge. All right, so that's now ready to go. And the next step is, of course, to cover it. And like I said before, you can cover it with fabric, scrapbook paper, wrapping paper, whatever you have on hand. I have this contact paper, I suppose, self-adhesive book cover. And I have this gold one, and it's beautiful and sparkly. It's not really coming up on video. I've got it from Kmart. And I'm going to use this to cover my boards. Another thing, of course, that you can do is if you have painty paper like this, look how beautiful this is. I painted this just ages ago. Anyway, you can use something like this also to cover your, if you can't paint directly onto the cover because of the glossiness, then you can paint paper. It's quite thick paper, but doesn't have to be this thick. And then use this to wrap around, and you do it in exactly the same way as I'm about to show you now with the contact paper. I do have to say that it's easier working with scrapbook paper or something else rather than contact paper, because this can be really fiddly, but I found a way of doing it, and this is how I do it. So as you can see, I removed a little bit of this backing paper, and now I'm going to stick this, the sticky part, onto my table in front of my book, just like this. So that's stuck onto the table, and then I'm going to start covering the book. And I'm removing the bubbles as I go. And here we go, that's looking nice and bubble free. And lift it off my table. And now I'm going to miter all of the corners. And now we wrap. With the corners, I kind of like to push them in like this, and the other side like this. Everyone has their own preferred way. This is just how I do it. And then I wrap here. Excellent. And you can see those corners are nice and neat and looking good from the front too. Beautiful. At night time, I just turned the light on, but at night time, this is so sparkly and beautiful. During the day, kind of looks a little bit drab in the video especially, but anyway, it's quite nice contact paper. Kmart doesn't always have it, but whenever they do, I'm actually running out. So next time I see it, I'll be stocking up. I love it. Okay, that's looking perfect, nice and neat, and I'm going to repeat all of this on this panel. Alright, here's what I have now. 2 panels beautifully covered on the outside. This eventually is going to be covered. At this point, I'm thinking, what do I want to do with this? I mean, there's so many possibilities, which way, what direction do I want to take? Do I want to make a journal? Do I want to make a folio, like a ephemera folder folio kind of thing? Well, I'm going to do a few different things in this video, but first, I am going to make the folio. So first thing I want to do, of course, is make this into some type of book form. So I need to join these together. I could potentially have another piece here, make a spine. Yeah, but do I want to mess around with that? Yeah, nah, I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to hinge with fabric. I need a piece of fabric that's the same height as my panels, or thereabouts. I mean, I can always trim it off later, so that's what I'm going to do. And I really don't need a fabric piece that's this wide, so I'm just going to trim this down. Now I'm going to hinge. So all I need to do is attach one side of the fabric to one panel and the other side of the fabric to the other panel. And here's where I'm kind of thinking, how much of the spine do I want here? I will show you 3 examples of the books that I've made. Okay, so here you can see tiny, tiny little spine, not much space. But when I open it up, you can see how much space is in between covers. What I found is if you don't leave enough space, your book, whatever you put inside, it might gape open because there's not enough space for the book to expand. This one here, I left a huge amount of space. And therefore, I can really chunk this up on the inside and have so much stuff inside, and the book can close and lay flat and it can keep growing. Okay, so I am going to use my very strong double-sided tape for this, and I'll also add glue as well. And if you don't have double-sided tape, of course, just work with glue. Usually I just work with glue, but this is very strong double. It's actually carpet tape, so, and I have it and I'm going to use it. So the objective, of course, is to glue down this piece of fabric and hold the two panels together. How you get to that and what glue you use, it's not really that important, as long as it's a strong glue. First, I'm going to glue this onto one side. And now I'm going to bring this side, this panel, close to it. And this is where I'm determining how much kind of space do I want to leave in between here. Perhaps I will leave about this much space and put this fabric down. All right, excellent. All right, that's that first section done. You can see that space there. Excellent. And now glue this down. You can, like I said before, do all of this with tacky glue or whatever glue you have, as long as it's nice and strong and it's gonna hold. Excellent. Okay, I'm gonna turn it over and now I'm gonna trim this excess fabric off. The next step is covering the outside of the book, the spine. So I want to do something here, and this is where you start getting creative. So I really like the way this fabric looks with this gold paper. So this is just, what do you call this? Like crocheted, I'm not sure. It's actually two pieces of very wide lace. This is how wide it is. And I put one piece going this way and then this piece going this way, like this. It actually in the video looks like it's just one piece, but it's actually two pieces. And that is that one. And then over here I have this red fabric on the inside, which is what we've just done. And then on the outside I just covered it with this beautiful kind of sparkly trim that I have in my stash, and it looks so much better in real life than it does here on video. This was my thought process when I put this down over the top. This would work, right? It doesn't look bad. It doesn't look bad at all, in fact. And then I could have, let's see if I have some ready-made pieces, you know, just a little something on the book here. I'm sure that we could find a perfect piece. It's nice to have things ready to go. Like this, like this. Look, you get the point. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy here on the spine, but of course you can get a little fancy. Why not? So that's what I'm going to do. I'm gonna go in with this beautiful black lace, and I think black and gold, my absolute favorite. If you watch this channel, you know. And all I'm going to do now is glue this down here and wrap this onto the inside like so. That's all going to be hidden later on. And then essentially what I'm creating is a little pocket here. And because that's going to be a pocket, I'm going to be putting things in. I don't want thank you, Banjo. I don't want double-sided tape along this way, because then whatever you put in the pocket, it can get kind of stuck in the double-sided tape. So I'm just going in with fabric glue. And this is going to seep right through the lace, but that's quite all right. Quite all right, because that's going to be covered with this piece over the top. I'm going to put something on my desk just to protect it, because this glue is going to go through that lace. But I want to secure this lace on the inside. I'm going to use a little bit of masking tape. And I want this lace real tight. We don't want any flimsy front pocket, you know? No flimsy business. Let's see how it's looking. Excellent, looking good. Looking mighty fine indeed. Now we're gonna go in with this. Cut it down to size first. I like to fray those edges. I mean, this here is already done for me. It's looking good, but this side not really, so I'm just gonna go in. By the way, I'm leaving the back as it is, so I'm not adding any lace to the back, but only because it's just an extra step that I'm not interested in taking at this point in time, you know. But you might be, so you might want to do this on the back as well. Excellent. Now we're keeping all of these because we're just crazy people over here. And now time to glue this down. And paint that glue on. So obviously we don't want glue seeping through the fabric and being visible and leaving nasty, what's the word? Glue spots, I suppose. And pop the fabric down. I know what you're thinking now. You're thinking, you have to glue it down. Okay, now we need to glue down the back over here, but don't make this tight. All right, you want to leave. So see when I do this, see this extra bit of fabric there? That's our space between the panels. That's the little spine. If you make this real tight, you're gonna have no space. So when you're gluing this piece down, don't tighten, just kind of loosely leave space. I'm going to glue this on. This is fun, isn't it? There's just so much that you can do with this stuff. All right, the glue is painted on. And now would you look at that? At this stage, this is what the inside looks like. It looks absolutely horrendous. And that's perfectly fine because we're going to work on this next. We're going to cover all of that. But first, I want to get rid of any of this excess fabric over here. So now to cover the inside, I have chosen scrapbook paper that I think goes really well. And I'm going to trim this down to size. Just mark where I need to cut. Okay, here's my first piece. So you can see that it covers all of this stuff in here, and now I need a second piece for the back. And here we are, my two pieces are ready to be glued down. Before I glue this down, I add all the fun stuff. So let me just show you in more detail what I did here. I have sewn on lace. This is what I used. I'm not sure what this is actually called, probably not lace, but that's the same thing that I used here on this cover. And basically, as you can see the sewing around. None of the sewing was done through the actual cover, so everything is done on the piece first, and then it's glued down. So what I did, basically pop my lace down, make little pockets, take it to my sewing machine, sew around, and then glue it down. Here's what that looks like, and the lace is at the back here, and then when that's ready to go, then we glue it down and off you go, filling up the pockets. So that's the lace on this side, and over here, this here is just scrapbook paper. I just have this little piece left over to show you, and I cut down a little window, and then I put vellum paper into the window. So then I have this little see-through pocket, and I really love that. I love how that looks. So when my little journal goes inside, like you can see it in there, I really like that. So for this one, I made a journal. Just scrapbook paper folded in half, and then inside I have some plain white pages. In it goes. Then for these pockets here, I just have little pieces of ephemera that I put in. This is a tea-dyed CD sleeve and a little pocket full of stuff. And then for the top one, I made these little folios that have little things in them. I was contemplating kind of sewing them on the sides, but I ended up leaving them open. And that goes in here like so, and then I have this beautiful envelope, and that lives in there. So that's all that I did for this one. So as you can see, it's not an actual journal, it's like a folio, but I have a journal in there. And also at the front I have another journal. This is again scrapbook paper folded in half. I added some stickers and plain white paper, lots of journaling space. And then I made this little folio folder kind of thing. And inside I have all this fun stuff, you know, either Holden page and some book and some of this stuff. Like anything can go in there really. So you can really get creative with this project, which is, we can get creative with most of these things that we make. So now at this stage is when I'm going to get a little bit creative, and I'm not sure what I'm gonna do yet. So let's see. Actually, now is probably a good time to show you some of the other things that I did with these folios. So over here you can see, I'll take all of this out. So you can see here I have some pockets on the side, and again I created some, what is this? Oh, I was going to make this into a journal. I completely forgot to bind some pages in there. I can come back to that later. This one here is a little kind of notepad type of thing. I have a few pages in there that lives in here. And then on these two pieces of scrapbook paper, I sewed on pockets. So I have 6 pockets that are filled up with all sorts of fun stuff, and you can see that the pockets are sewn on, and all of the sewing is done. Even all of this sewing around that you can see, all of it is done, of course, before I glue the pieces down. So this is another folio. And then let me show you this one. This is just to give you ideas on all the things that you can do. Again, this one here has these 2 large pockets on the side, and then another pocket over here, and then another pocket over here, and then these 3 mini pockets. I put some gold ribbon on top of these pockets just to make it extra special. You can, and I've got lace over here, and I've got wiggly edges happening over here. You can really get creative. So I just popped in some tags and some fun stuff. I like this symmetrical look, so you can see everything I did on this side. I did the same thing on this side. And then I have this fun little thing over here that lives in this pocket. And I have a large tag that lives in this pocket. Then on this side, again, I have a large tag and another little something. It looks so rich because of all of these layers that I've added. And then in the back pocket, I have a little journal. I've bound in some pages that goes over here. And then for this large pocket on this side, I have this notepad again. Lovely. Washi tape, some lace, some little pieces glued down, and this is file folder, and that goes in there. And look how beautiful and rich this looks. Okay, now I'm gonna work on this and I'll be right back. I'm actually thinking of using this vellum paper that I have left over and creating lots of small kind of narrow pockets and making like a stamp book. Magic. Not really, sewing machine magic, more like it. So as you can see, I have sewn on the pockets right through this. If you don't have a sewing machine, of course, you can use glue. You don't have to use vellum because glue will probably be see-through through the vellum. I wouldn't use double-sided tape because, again, anything you put in the pocket can kind of get stuck in the double-sided tape. Anyhow, whatever you want to do, you do before you glue the panels down. The most important thing is that you really get all the way to the edge of the paper. You don't want any lifting edges. That's the most important thing. And then, of course, we want glue kind of all over. Or if you want, you can create a pocket on the side, in which case you would only apply glue to the 3 sides rather than all 4. And gluing my first panel down. So what I meant before is you can apply glue only to these 3 sides and then have this as a pocket over here. But that's not what's happening today. And now I have to do the same on this side, and done. The panels are glued down. Lovely. And just for reference, I want to show you, this is where the book cover begins, and this is where my panel begins. I don't know if that's important to you, but you can see how much kind of space I left in there. That's how it looks from the top. Just make sure everything is nice and glued down. Excellento. And now I can go ahead and fill it up. Look at this one. All right, I think that's enough. Doesn't this just look so fabulous? I love the vellum. Of course, I love that I can see the stamp through the vellum. Beautiful. It looks actually so much better than if I had used scrapbook paper and then most of the stamp or half the stamp is hidden. Oh, how cool is this? I actually needed a stamp holder, and just in case if you're wondering, I found stamps at an op shop. Somebody was collecting them and they're stuck down with sticky tape, which I'm not a huge fan of, and I actually love keeping this book intact, but I'm making this video, so I did hack into it. I also found this folder at an op shop as well, a second-hand store or thrift store, if you will. And then also, I will not be touching this. This is from my childhood. Look at this. Look at these gorgeous stamps from my childhood. Oh yes. So I'm not going to be touching these because actually my mom only recently gave this to me. It was in her, she had it, and I actually completely forgot about them. How beautiful. And then there's this one. So I do have a lot of stamps, clearly because I've been collector my whole life. I mean, I wouldn't call myself a collector of stamps, but I love them. And who doesn't? Look at this. I need to fill, oh, I thought this was all empty. It's not. Lots of stamps. Anyhow, I don't seem to find stamps in op shops as much anymore, but whenever I do, I'm on it, like I grab them. Okay, so that's so rich and so beautiful, and I'm in love with this project. And now all that's left to do at the front here is something, and I'm not going to do it now because I want to actually make another thing, completely different thing. So I'm going to get on with it. But you get the idea. You can see what I've done on this one. I've shown it before. You can have a journal in there. Look at that. How beautiful does that look? And maybe I can do something with this. Is this too big? It's a little bit too big. Oh, that's a shame. That would have been perfect. Maybe I can make a quick little journal. How does this look? The thing is, every time I'm making a project and there's something left unfinished, I say, I'm going to come back to this later, and I'm going to finish it later, and then I never do because I'm always on to the next project. So I really want to finish this, and so I'm going to. So for this kind of a large, you know, if you take your usual standard copy size paper, you fold it in half, the pages are too small for something that's this large. So I always use these kids scrapbook books, and they're quite cheap, and the paper is not bad quality. So that's what I use, and I just cut it down. And oftentimes I will tea dye this first, but not now. I don't mind, actually. I don't mind the white for this project. And then of course I use all of these offcuts as well, but you already know that. And now I feel like I need something underneath. So let's do something with this. I wish the journal extended a bit more out, but it didn't. So I just added this piece in there just so I can call it done. And now it's done. And inside, oh, fabulous. Okay, now what I wanted to do is use this book and make an actual journal out of this book. And I want to keep the spine because there's a few things that I wanted to discuss if you are keeping the spine, and a few more things that I wanted to show you, like this kind of thing where you can have a book. Anyway, we'll get to this. Let's just take a moment to marvel at this painting. I was actually trying to recreate this, which I did, I don't even know when, and I wasn't happy how it's looking, and then I actually like this one now much better than this one. I'll tell you how I did it, but one thing at a time. This book I'm keeping as is. I'm going to keep the outside and the inside as well. I'm going to bind my own journal in there, but this will all be hidden. All right, the very first thing I'm going to do is get rid of this. All of this stuff, it's in my way, and I'm just going to take it out, but I'm going to keep the spine intact. Okay, so I've gotten rid of this bulk that can go in the bin, and I'm left with my spine, and I made sure not to go through, you know, these sections. We are going to make this journal very, very simply, and now all I have to do is just cover the ugliness over here. So I can either do that with washi tape, or I can cover the inside with fabric. I'm just trying to decide here what to do. Fabric will probably give me a little bit more security and structure, so I'm gonna go with fabric, even though washi tape would be easier. And in fact, on this one here, you will see that I did exactly the same thing that I've just done over here. Took that middle piece out and covered it with washi tape, and it looks fine. And then I stuck these two panels down, and then anything you want can go. This is just a kids exercise, school thing, and it can just go in there. You don't even have to bind in your own journal, but I'm going to. And here we go. And that can be interchangeable. When you're finished with this, you can take it out, put another one in. So many things you can do. All right, back to the project at hand. I'm going to glue this fabric down. I'm going to use fabric glue. And first I'm going to do the spine. Nice thin layer of glue. I don't want any glue seeping through my fabric. And I'm also going to go into the grooves and glue the fabric down. And go into the grooves. Oh, perfection, look at that. And now I'm going to apply glue over here and glue it down and repeat on the other side. That's looking mighty fine. Excellent, look at that. While that's drying, I'm going to prepare my pages. I've pulled out some large pages that I have that are already tea dyed, coffee dyed, avocado dyed, and whatnot. It's a large journal, so I need large pages, right? And these pages are, you guessed it, from these kids scrapbook large books. And I just, tea dyed them and avocado dyed them, and they're ready to go when I need them. So now I'm going to make myself a signature. All right, so I made my signature. I have 10 pages, and they're all sort of scattered throughout, and different types of pages. We're making it nice and fun. And I'm not going to do any sewing in this journal because I just want to get it done. I need to make sure that my journal is going to fit inside the book. So I'm lining it up with the end page here, or I forgot what it's called. I'm not lining it up with the actual book, if that makes sense. So it's going to be slightly shorter, and it's just gonna pretty much be the same height as this pink sheet here. Trim it down. All right, so that's the height done. And now I need to trim it over here. I'm just wondering if I want to do some pockets or not, or do I just want to trim it down? It doesn't matter what I do as long as all the pages fit nicely within the cover, or not. They don't have to fit in the cover, but I want these to fit inside the cover. I can't talk. I don't know if I told you that I'm sick. I forgot to mark where I need to cut and trim it down. All right, let's check that it fits. Perfect. Okay, now I'm going to bind it in right through this spine as it is. I'm going to use a 5-hole pamphlet stitch for this one because it's a tall journal, and I'll quickly do a tutorial on binding using the 5-hole pamphlet stitch. First thing I need, of course, is a template that's exactly the same height as my pages. All right, template ready. So I need 5 holes. I'm going to fold this in half, and then I'm going to fold somewhere over here. It doesn't have to be exact. We just need 5 holes somewhat evenly spaced. They don't have to be. You'll see what I'm doing when I open this. I'm going to write myself a note that that's the top, and you can see the folds. I have a fold here, 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 and here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. Now I'm going to use this template to poke the holes through the spine. I'm going to attempt to put it somewhere in the middle. I might even do it from this side because this is all going, usually I would do it from the inside, but this is all going to be covered anyway. But on this side, I can actually see a little bit better where the middle of the spine is. I can even draw myself a line right there in the middle. Here comes the template. We want it facing up. Top goes to the top. And I'm centering the template. Because the template is the same size as my pages, it's going to be shorter than the cover. So I'm leaving the same amount of space here at the top and down the bottom. And now I can first mark. You won't be able to see it, but I'll be able to see it. I'm just marking where I'm going to poke the holes, aligning it with the marks that I made on my template. And off I go, poking the holes. Great. Okay, back to the template. We're going to turn it this way, get our signature, find the middle, and nestle the template right there in the middle, and now poke the holes. You can't see it from this angle, but of course I'm using my template and just going through the markings that I've made. Excellent. Remove the template. I'm going to pop this back in there to hold everything in place. And now all of my holes are going to align with what we've done on the spine because we've used the same template. Okay, next thing we need is needle and thread. Of course, we're starting in the middle hole, through the signature, and also through the middle hole in the cover or the spine. Or you can just go through the signature and then go through the spine. I'll quickly draw you a diagram so that it makes sense while I'm doing it. We have 5 holes. These are of course not spaced properly. It doesn't matter. We're going to go in through the middle like we've just done. Come back over here through this hole. Come back over here. Then we're on the outside. We go back inside. This is the middle one. That's where our thread is. We're going to skip that hole. Go back out here. Back in. Out. In. Tie a knot. All right. If that doesn't make sense, then watching the process will definitely make sense. All right, so we've started here. Now we're going to go back inside through the next available hole, through the spine, and then through the signature. You can go through the spine and the signature all at the same time, but I find it's just easier for me to do it this way. So we're going back in, and now we're going to go through the next available hole, which is this one here. I don't need that in place anymore. We'll go over here and through the spine. And at this stage we can do a little bit of tightening. Tighten this, tighten this. We don't want any flimsy flailing signatures in there. Okay, so we've gone out, back inside, and now we're outside. Now we're going to go back in through the next available hole. So we're going through the same hole over here and try and get through the cover and the signature at the same time if you can. So here we go, back in. Sometimes the needle might get lost in between the pages, in which case I just go page by page until I find my needle. All right, lovely. Now we're skipping the middle hole. Now we're going to skip this middle hole and we're going to go down and do the figure 8 again. Skipping the middle hole, we're going down into the next hole and through the spine. We're on the outside, go back inside, through the cover, and through the signature. If it's too difficult, just do page by page, it's fine. I know you can't see, I can see the tip of my needle here, and I'd rather that than struggle and get annoyed when I can't get it right, which happens more often than not. Oh, hello, my precious. And now back out through the next available hole. Excellent. Tighten and go back inside through the middle. I'll turn it this way. Tighten this here and then tighten over here and go back inside. Let's see. Oh, it went through. Oh, I just love when that happens. Excellent. Yes. Tighten, tighten, tighten. Do a little chopperoo. Tie a knot. Double knot. And I like to finish off with the S knot that goes under that thread. This goes under this thread. We've created a little S, and then this goes through here, this goes through here, and we tighten up, and that way you get a knot that's not sitting on top of the other knots. It's sitting next to the other knots, so you don't have a chunky bulk there in the middle. And now we can tie a bow or chop it off, up to you. I'm gonna go wild today. I'm gonna make a little bow, and done. How lovely. The journal is bound. Excellent. It's ready to be embellished and glued, and we can do so much stuff with, you know, chunking it up, because plenty of space. I could have easily done 2 signatures there. I can do a whole lot of clipping of stuff, and I can put pockets over here. I have this on my desk for something that went a little bit wrong yesterday, but I could do something like this, you know, have little pockets here and at the back, and I could have more journals in there, like little thin notebooks kind of thing. But anyway, we are here to discuss the covers. So now let's forget about the actual stuff that's on the inside and focus on the cover. All I'm going to do now, of course, is just cover the writing basically. So what am I going to use? There's plenty of things that I have already pulled out. I have some lace. If I put lace, the writing is going to be visible. I'm not a big fan of that. I could do something like this. Of course, this looks fabulous. I think I'm going to go with this one. You can still see the writing, in which case I could first do a little bit of fabrico. Actually, this looks good. And then go on top of that with some lace. We could even layer it. Oh, check that out. We could do something like that. Then I have this wide thing. I could use something like that. You know, you can do lots of things. I could even use the contact paper. I could cover it with scrapbook paper. Anything will do. I actually quite like how this is looking. So I'm just gonna go with this one, but I'm gonna use this fabric first. Might actually go in with a little bit of fabric glue here on the spine. If I didn't have this double-sided tape, I would be using fabric glue for this. But I had the double-sided tape. It's very heavy duty, and this is also going to be covered anyway. So even if this gooey glue of the double-sided tape does seep through, which it will eventually, none of it is going to be visible because it's not going to seep through this thick cardboard panel that I have happening. And then also this will be covered with the lace. So I'm not worried. Here we go. Done. That's looking all right as it is. I can't get rid of this, so I'm gonna have to think of something for that. And now I'm going to go in with this, and I'm going to do it section by section. So first I'm going to apply glue up here, and perhaps also on here too, why not? And glue that down where I want it. Let's say something like this. Now I'm going to apply glue on these sections here. And down it goes. And I've got glue here. Actually, while I'm at it, I'm just gonna go over here with the glue. And then up here with the glue. And glue it down. I'll wait for this to dry for a little bit. And when it's dry, which it isn't, but I'm gonna do it anyway, go in and cut this excess off. And there we have it, a really simple journal, quite a large journal. I do enjoy making large journals, and this one is of course not finished. I'm gonna finish this in another day, but it's just another thing that you can do. Just want to show you something else. This is kind of not related, but this is one of my all-time favorite journals that I've ever made. And in fact, I made it on camera, and I will link the tutorial down below. And it's just full of amazing things. I mean, what can I tell you? And I actually made it from a box, you know, when you buy bedding and linen and stuff like that. And that's what I made it from. And it's just a large journal. I'm showing it to you because of the large size, in case you're not a fan of large journals. I think it's beautiful to have something, you know, a little bit different, I suppose, and a little bit bigger, and there's all this space. This would last forever. It's 2 signatures. Like I said, I have a tutorial on this, and I did it all start to finish on camera. You can go and have a look, and it's just so, I cannot part with this. I just love it, and I'm showing it to you because, you know, of this large size. Okay, back to today's program. Look at this little details. This journal is so beautiful. All right, back to today's programming. These are all of the journals that I made. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're not all journals, they're folios. 6 large things that I have made using large book covers. And you know what? There will always be more. This, especially from kids' books, if you have grandkids, if you have little kids and they, you know, they mess up their books, and if you can't donate them, you know, you can just, I'm sure you know this, I'm sure you already are hoarding all that kind of stuff. So let me just quickly show you again the ideas that we have over here. First of all, you can paint the cover if it's a nice canvas, if it's not glossy. If it is glossy and you want to paint and you want to have fun with this kind of thing, you just sand it down and you go crazy with the paint. So over here, this is my mark making box, and I have all sorts of stuff in here. So I used this sponge from some type of packaging, and it leaves these beautiful kind of liney things. And then I also went in with this was from my kids when they were little. They had this play thing on the floor, and anyway, that's anything that leaves a mark, like a stamp. So all of these gold little bits that you can see, that's from this. I also used a sponge, just put black paint and just kind of went in. You can probably see a lot of it here, the black. And then the circles, I used lids. More specifically, I used these 3 lids. So this is the white circles, and I just went in with the white. This pen lid is the black circles that you can see here. And then this one here is, which one is this? I don't even know anymore. Doesn't matter, not really. You can barely see them. These ones here, the black, that's this one. And then I have a smaller yellow one, which was this one. It's just lids, different sized circular lids, and you put your paint here on the side and you kind of put your thing in the paint and then you stamp away. I mean, I just love how this looks. And you keep adding, and then when you're done, but by the way, first I colored the whole thing in red, and then I went in with the black and the gold and so on. And for the final touches, I did gold glitter paint. You can see some dots here, that's glitter glue, and some gold glitter paint, just cheap $2 shop glitter paint. And I just went into the circles, and if I turn the light on, you can see it sparkling away, and it looks so fabulous. And on the inside, you've seen this one on the inside, covered with washi tape here. Put these panels on the side, left it open, and in goes a store-bought book. Lovely. With this one on screen, maybe I'll leave the light on. Looks more fabulous. And we made a stamp book. Next, we have this one here. This piece is just rags. It actually looks a little bit like rags, doesn't it? This was done in a video where I was using staples as decorative elements in your journals. And this is just one of the things that I did. Scrunched up some, that's linen, I think. And yeah, put some paint on it. Anyway, I had that piece. I glued it on top of this folio type thing you've seen inside here. Kind of like what I did in the tutorial today. I don't have the stamps in there. I have the pockets and ephemera, and then these are also pockets. And the idea is, since I'm not making a journal, I'm going to make removable little journals. Lots of fun things. The more things, the more fun. Then number 4, this one here, I've already shown you this one, so I'm not gonna, show it to you again. Clearly I am showing it to you again. I love this folio thing. Very easy to make, just, some scrapbook paper. And anyway, on the inside, you've seen all of this, so I'm not gonna go into it. And then we have this one here. This one I painted as well, you can see. I'm not a huge fan of the fact that you can see brush strokes, and actually it's because I added gesso and I thought it's not going to be visible, but it was a canvas anyway, so I really didn't need that gesso because the canvasy kind of material just soaks up the paint, and I thought maybe I need just, anyway, this is just unnecessary information, I suppose. This here is I don't know how to pronounce it, so I'll write it on screen. Decal or decal, I don't know. It is this. I found some of these in a resource rescue center, and people use these for their tiles in their kitchen or in their bathroom or for their wardrobes and stuff. And basically, you can see it's kind of like a, you can see that there, it's kind of like a sticker, but it's not a sticker. You have to soak it in water, and then you take that top bit off and then you glue it onto your surface. So again, I'm not too crazy about the fact that you can see the outline of it. I think I tried to save it a little bit by using these corners here. That's just a die cut you know, with some gold paper. It looks like it's metal. It's not. I don't know what the die cut is because, again, I get my stuff, you know, Facebook Marketplace and stuff like that. That's the spine. And then on the inside, so much goodness. I've already shown you this one too, so I'm not going to go into it, but it's so, I just love how rich and beautiful they all look on the inside. Look, how gorgeous is this? I mean, is this not a treasure book? And then of course we have this, and it's just a journal. So what did we do? We did a journal, idea number 1. Then we did kind of a removable cover kind of thing, idea number 2. Then we did a stamp book, idea number 3. Then we did this, which is very similar to idea number 3, but I'm gonna call it idea number 4. And then we did this, side pockets. Yeah, no, there's lots of pockets and more pockets. What idea are we up to? I don't know. And then this one as well. So, you know, sky's the limit. Look at these fabulous beauties. Aren't they all just so stunningly beautiful and gorgeous? I think my issue is that I make all these things and then I don't want to part with the things that I make. But the issue is I have no place to put them. I have literally, all my shelves are full. I'm going to have to start selling my journals more often than I already do, which isn't all that often if I'm being honest, because I find it really difficult to part with the journals that I make, especially if it's something a little bit different like this. I don't know why I'm doing the whole hand thing. Anyway, please let me know what you think. Which one is your favorite? My favorite, I can tell you which one is my least favorite. That would be this one here. Perhaps I would rethink the cover, but I still love it. I still don't think I can part with it just yet. I thoroughly enjoyed making this project, and I thoroughly enjoyed filming it for you, and I really hope that you found lots and lots of inspiration in today's video. Please let me know your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.